What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. Hey, it's summertime. That means there's honestly quite a bit of variety of ways to catch bass depending on what lake you're on, and a lot of times within the same lake. So today I've come to a place where I think I'm going to be able to show you guys a variety of ways to catch bass in the summertime. We're going to break down every technique. Of course, we're going to tell you what we're thinking as we go along on every single fish catch. Try to help you guys catch more and bigger bass throughout the summer. So y'all stay tuned. Well, guys, I got my buddy Mike Bray. Mike, man, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here.
We're gonna have a good time. You guys saw Mike back in the winter doing the jig deal. And I know you like the jig deal, like that's all you want to throw is a jig, but today you're gonna have to open your mind a little bit, right? We're gonna have to go outside the box and do some different things today. We're on a lake that's primarily a shallow water fishery. It does have some offshore structure, so we'll let you throw a jig at some point today, Mike.
Okay, good.
Because that is a good way to catch a fish in the summer, folks, is offshore jig fishing. I know Mike likes to do that, but man, there's such a variety of ways. You've got fish that are relating to shad, and if you've got vegetation in a lake of any kind, a lot of shad are going to stay shallow. There's fish that are relating to brim. Hey, we're in the early part of the summer. There's probably still some brim spawning out here on this lake, and if not, they just got done. They're still up shallow, so there's going to be brim eaters up shallow on the bank as well. Then you got fish that are pulling offshore, eating bigger gizzard shad, schools of some threadfin shad that are pulled out there, or whatever they can find offshore. They're trying to get to that deeper water, stay a little cooler, get a little more oxygen. All of this just equals a whole bunch of different ways to target these bass. We can go cranking, we can go dragging a Carolina rig or a jig or a worm, we can go flip it up shallow, we can frog, we can chatterbait, we can square bill. Just an immense amount of ways to catch them. What do you think about that?
I'm excited about it.
You excited about it?
I'm very excited.
Are you less excited than you were when you knew you were only going to throw a jig?
No,
you're more excited.
I'm a little more excited.
Okay. Listen, we do like catching them on a jig, but if you, what is buzzing around my head? If you can catch them more ways than on a jig, that ain't bad either. Because here's the one thing that's held true for me forever. I've never met a bass I didn't want to catch.
Same here.
No matter how small he is, if he bites, I'm gonna swing on him, dude. I'm gonna swing on him. Well, we're gonna get to swinging, man. Y'all keep watching. We're gonna try and break it down for you. It should be a fun day. It's hot. It's gonna be like 100 degrees today. It was like 100 yesterday. It should really be putting these fish in summer patterns, so we're gonna see what happens.
Okay.
It's just a baby.
It's just a baby.
Hey, I was still trying to tie baits on, man.
Sorry.
I'm over here. We're talking about variety of ways to catch them. I'm trying to figure out a whole bunch of variety of baits to tie on, and you're over here catching fish. Money Mike done grabbed a chatterbait and caught him. Looks a lot like a bass.
It does.
It's a little bit smaller though.
Oh, we can give it its ear scratch.
There you go. Bait fish flicking around right there. There you go. That's one, folks.
That's one.
Got him. Top water bite. Come on. Get on in there. Let's hit the poles down. Throwing that old bluegill colored spook. Like I said, there's some bluegill spawning on these lakes this time of year. We're just fishing it. We're staying in a little bit of a channel and fishing a really shallow flat right now. Like, guys, it's real shallow outside of this flat. And so there could be brim beds anywhere in here. But look how he's eating that bait right there. Isn't that pretty? Sucker got it in there sideways. That old Spook Junior got both hooks. I love it. All right, number two. We're getting after it this morning. We just call him old Mud Butt. Look at him. Got one? Yep. Here we go.
He's running right at me.
That's a decent one, dude. That's a pretty good fish. There's our first solid one for the day. Now, Mike's throwing a chatterbait. I'm throwing a spook, so we're 1-2 in them. I'm throwing for him on top. Mike's right on the surface with a chatterbait. Shove that all the way in the camera, Mike. Like, well, maybe not that far. No, that's a good fish right there, dude. Good job. First good one of the day. Old skinny post spawner. Got one. Here we go. Old chatter rig. Running at you. Running at you. Is he growing any? He's growing now a little bit. He's not that big, but you thought he was a dink-dink till he got here.
Boy, he was coming at me. I did. I thought he was. Little baby.
It's like they heard me pick the power poles up. As soon as I pick the power poles up, you got another bite. Yeah, dude, you thought that one was a baby.
I thought it was.
Till she got here, which it's pretty small. But like you thought it was a dink. Then it got here, all of a sudden they're running at you, Mike.
Yeah.
They taking that chatterbait, they know right where to go. They're coming, they're just running to the old skeeter boat.
They're coming to the boat for me.
Folks, be sure you get you a skeeter boat. The fish run right to it. I'm just saying. Well, guys, you've seen us this morning. We started out kind of in that little channel out in the middle. Well, a little bit in the middle, but a big shallow flat, and caught one each out there. And then we just transitioned to beating the banks. What we were doing, we were just, I mean, basically that's all we were doing. But here's the key: you can do that in the summertime, especially early in the morning. And we've got a few clouds this morning and a little bit of wind, and that's kind of helping that shallow bite. But the deal is you got to stay near the depth changes. That bank that we were fishing, I talked to Mike about it while we were fishing it. That creek channel that runs through there kind of moves up and down that bank. So that bank in relation to the other banks in this lake that we're on is a little bit steeper, a little bit deeper bank, drops off a little quicker, so those fish will transition, pull up there to feed. But you don't want to go like this bank over here to my right. It's just super flat. It stays shallow flat for a long ways, and the creek channel's out here on our left side right now, and the bank's over there. You don't want to target those kind of baits. If you want to go fish in the bank, take advantage of a shallow winding bite like a chatterbait, or a shallow water square bill, something like that, or a top water bite. You want to find those bank lines that have those deeper water transitions in relation to the other water in that big area around you. So that's kind of been the key. Right now we're idling up the lake to another area that has a little deeper water transition. We're actually going down off the side of the dam on this lake, where we've got a little kind of rocky bank that has a little steeper slope than the rest of this lake does. And then we may even go fish the dam itself up shallow. So we're still staying with that shallow water deal. Here after a while we are going to pull off the bank and fish some offshore stuff. We also are going to go hunting for bluegill beds shallow as well at some point today. Hopefully all three of those things work out and we really get to show you guys the variety of summer bites. What do you think, Mike?
I think it's still going to be fun. We just
so far
good.
So
far, so good.
Get him. And a boy.
Get up here, big mama. Get up here and see your daddy.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. You swing that?
Oh, I can swing that, bro. Watch this.
We don't need no nets around here. That's a big one, dude.
Woo. I'm sorry.
A fish touched her foot. The princess is in full panic mode, folks at home. That's a big one, dude. Almost like she didn't really want that lip piercing you gave her or something. She acting all hard about it, like she a gangster. She has some line in her. Look here. What's she got going on here? Carolina rig. Somebody broke off a Carolina rig in her. So nice fish for Mike, but as you can see, this fish has a Carolina rig. This is old, see the swivel? This old Carolina rig, and it's all the way down in her. So I'm gonna try with pliers to get this hook out of her gut, but we're gonna help this fish out real quick. Let's teach you guys a cool little trick, and you're not really gonna be able to seal the fish's mouth too well, but if you'll go in through the side of the gills, close your pliers, then once you're in there, open them up a little bit, grab the hook, and turn the hook like that, it will flip out of their stomach, and you can actually get it out of there. This one's in there extremely deep, so I don't know if I'll be able to do it with this one, but we'll see. Look at that. That's how easy that hook just popped right out of her. Get this swivel out of here. And the worm. So look at that. Everything removed, flipped it, popped it. That's Mike's fish, but that is a beauty of a bass right there. That's a big summertime fish. And now she can go on about her thing and keep feeding and stay fat and healthy like she is. We did our good deed for the day, Mike.
We did do it.
Good deed for the day. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
I got to hold one of yours. I can't catch any. So.
Oh, now.
Well, as you see, we're down here by the dam right now. And the dam is always, we talked about that shallow to deep water transition. Whatever lake you're on, the dam is about 99.999% of the time, especially in Texas. It's like 100% of the time in Texas. The dam is the greatest example of shallow water to deep water transition areas. It's the easiest place for those fish to ride from deep water to shallow water throughout the day, in the morning time in the summer when they like to pull up shallow and feed, and then they can slide out deep, and they can pull up at any time on a dam. And the other thing is too, when you fish a dam, you can cover 0 foot of water to however deep it is at the base, 15, 20, 30, 40. You can cover that entire water column very efficiently by taking something like a jig, something like a crankbait, and crawling it down the face of that dam. And this dam just so happens to have good rock piles under the surface of water on it. And so that's what we're doing. Mike's throwing a jig, crawling it down that dam face and letting it hit some of those rocks. I'm taking a crankbait, letting it dive down and you know, deflect off some of those rocks. But anytime you're fishing in the summer, especially in the South, hit the dam, man. Go fish the dam. If you watch Major League Fishing, if you watch Bassmaster Elite Series, you know, especially on the Cup Series on Major League Fishing, when those guys don't know anything about the lake, they'll pull up and go straight to the dam, almost like somebody or multiple guys will go to that every single time. There's a reason for that. Dams are very good fishing areas no matter what lake you're on, especially in the summertime. There we go. Stay on it, baby. You come off. Dadgummit, he come off. And it kind of felt like a good one too. Look at this crappie right here. Look at this crappie right here. Look at the size of that crappie right there, son.
Go check out the...
That is dinner, folks. We'll give him an ear scratch because I don't mind him coming to see me either. That ain't what we're after, but that's a pretty good, that's not the big crappie. There's some big crappie in this lake I know from my buddies that fish out here, but that's a pretty good crappie. A bit old crankbait, like he knew what he was doing with it. So,
nice.
There you go. Oh, that's a big one. Bring him. Put him in my lap, Mike. Look at
Say hello to my not so little friend.
Not so little friend, that's right. That's a big head, old skinny meat.
Oh my lord.
Look at him.
What we find?
Just look at him. There you go. Let me give you your fish, Bubba. There you go. Show him off.
Look at here.
I'm down here tying on baits and sure enough. Well guys, now we've transitioned. As you can tell, we're way off the bank out in the slap middle of this pond, and we've got, you know, on a lake like this, like we said, there's a variety of structures you can fish, and it all depends on the lake you're on. Some lakes like Fork are going to have a massive amount of offshore structure. It's going to have very deep water in places for bass, you know, relative to bass fishing deep water. But a lake like we're on today, man, it's really pretty shallow. So 10 foot of water on this lake, 8 foot of water is deep water on this lake, because this is kind of a river system type of fishery. It's actually built as part of a river, feeds into it. It's just kind of a dammed up section of a river. And those lakes tend to be flatter and shallower, but that doesn't mean you can't fish offshore structure. And so we fished the deep water to shallow water transition banks. We fished the deep water to shallow water area on the dam, and we were actually going to look for some bluegill beds in a sandy pocket. I knew that I thought might have some bluegill beds, but instead, on our way out here, there were some brush piles that were way offshore that I knew about. Went over there, graphed them, and wouldn't you know, there was quite a few fish on them, and I actually had a fish bite my jig and drop it. Mike's throwing a different color jig. This is a dirty water fishery with a lot of river fisheries. Mike's actually from Arkansas, and he fishes river fisheries all the time. In that dirty water situation on these river fisheries, a black and blue jig, okay, is going to be the deal more times than not as far as color goes on your jig. I had my brown one that I've been throwing on Lake Fork offshore, bit it and dropped it. Mike threw in there, caught it with a black and blue jig, and now I'm going to a big black and blue and purple colored worm. Dark colors for river fisheries, but one thing that you want to take note of, big baits in the summertime. We're throwing a big 3/4 ounce jig, throwing a big 10-inch, not exactly a ribbon tail, this is the ridge worm, but it's kind of a swimming tail worm. But either way, big profile in the summer is these fish, as the water warms up on these fish, their metabolism speeds up, and it's more and more important for them to be efficient and get a lot of bang for their buck on the meals that they eat. So they specifically target bigger meals. So throw bigger baits in the summertime. No matter how shallow your fishery is, don't be scared to get offshore. Even shallow water offshore fishing can fish much the same as deep water offshore fishing. Oh yeah, dude, that's a giant in there right now. Here we go. Here we go. Not a big one. It's a one though. And you know what? There is big ones in the old live sonar out there in that brush pile.
That little fella's liable to get eaten. He's pretty good, but that's out there and eat him.
Mike, I think it's safe to say you are officially whooping my tail today. Just you and somebody you and that jig.
Take that jig away and you're just disarming.
So you want to hold on, whoa. You sure you don't want to, like, you know, become a better angler, try fishing the worm a little bit, expand your abilities?
Nah, I think I'm gonna stick with the jig.
You sure you don't want to get better today?
I feel like I can stick with this right here, Billy.
Okay.
See what happens with this, if you're all right with that.
All right. I don't think I could buy my jig back from you right now, could I?
I don't think you can.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for our time on the water. I want to thank Mike Bray for joining me once again, dude.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
We didn't get quite as big of a best five bag as we did back in February, but you know, that was February. That was Lake Fork.
Right.
We kind of went exploring today. I haven't been on this lake in several months. You've never been here, and we were really figuring that out on the go. But really wanted to show kind of the versatility of summer fishing. You know, there's a bunch of different ways to catch them in the summer. Everybody thinks offshore structure. Fish get hot, move out deep, get off the bank. You don't always have to do that. And we showed some of that today. You got up there this morning on the bank on those transitions, and even on the dam. I mean, we were fishing. Most of our bites were coming 0 to 5 foot. The couple bites that we got on the dam, well, I guess you caught the one on the dam, and I actually, you guys won't see most of this. For some reason, I couldn't keep one pegged on a crankbait today other than a crappie.
Right.
Like, I had 2 or 3 or 4 other bites that were bass, I'm pretty sure, that just came unbuttoned on a crankbait. But we were getting those bites in that 0 to 5 foot range. And that's what I wanted to show you guys, is you don't always have to fish what everybody's fishing. These days, with these modern electronics, everybody wants to get offshore. And that's great. I mean, that is an awesome way to fish when you find a school of offshore fish and they go to biting every cast. It's amazing. But a lot of times on pressured lakes, which, if we're being honest, with the advent of fishing popularity on social media and high school and college bass fishing, we've got more and more people fishing, more and more educated fishermen every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every lake is pressured compared to what it used to be nowadays, I would say. Sometimes you got to think outside the box in these pressure situations. So take what we showed you today. Think about those transition banks. Find an area where a creek channel swings in and out of a bank for a while, gives you that little deeper transition. You can catch fish in the morning and even throughout the day on those transition type banks using some of the techniques we showed you guys today. So hope you learned something from it. Like always, we hope this helps you catch more and bigger fish. Mike, thank you one more time.
Appreciate it.
More importantly, thank each and every one of you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.